Okay, got it unmuted. So I'm going to start a little bit different from everybody else. So I'm going to ask everybody to let go of any judgments from what I'm about to ask. And I'm going to ask you to trust. So I'd like you to close your eyes. I'd like you to put your hand on your chest. I'd like you to take a few deep breaths and just tap the chest. And while you're breathing and while you're tapping, I'd just like you to say the words to yourself: love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. And then bring your awareness back into the room. That love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness is for self and for all others, and what might be happening in your personal world and globally. Now, the reason that I've asked you to do that, because for me, Zest for Life is actually about living a life you love. And hope comes from an aspiration for change. And the only change you can really grasp is the change for yourself, within yourself and within your life. And the reason I got you to close your eyes and to tap your heart is because science has proven there is a miniature brain within our heart. And the intelligence of this brain sends far more messages to our mind than our brain sends to the heart. And this intelligence in here, many people will call intuition, spirit, or God. I believe in the power of words. I've heard this voice within me, and I've always called it the voice of knowing. Knowing has no uncertainty. The voice of knowing, power, and potential. And this voice within here, I believe we need to start thinking with the heart and feeling with the mind. This voice within our heart center, this miniature brain, knows your soul's purpose, knows why you came, knows your power, and knows your potential. And when we connect in here, this is where we set true goals for ourselves, where we have true aspirations that aren't ruled and dictated by perceptions and beliefs, false stories and beliefs we've taken on throughout our childhood experiences, or that we've taken on from the world around us. And this is where people start to feel hopelessness, because they're doing their goals from their head, not from the intelligence of their heart, that is designed to support and guide us. I like to think of it as an aspect of ourself in a future now moment that whispers to us, going, come, come. You've already achieved this. Let me show you how. The hope comes, and I'm going to use that analogy that others have talked about, the child. The child hopes that it can walk, but then it knows it can, which is why it gets up again and gets up again and gets up again, because it's no longer hopeful. It knows. It knows it is about to achieve this and live a life it loves. It does not doubt it. The one thing that will strangle the life and freeze hope in its tracks is fear. And when we aspire to change, you may take action towards it, but there will be a moment, if it's big change, where fear will come in. Now, what happens here is most people get strangulated by that fear. They also have a belief built that that is a negative. And I do not believe in negatives. The negative is if you allow that fear to rule you, but the fear itself. Imagine if we change the lenses that we look through and the perceptions of how we think and feel and perceive something. And imagine if that fear becomes your friend, the signpost, because it's telling you you are heading in the right direction of your aspirations. The thing is, you're going to have to change, and you're going to have to grow, and you're going to have to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and a little bit uncertain. And here's a really powerful practice. And I asked people to do really simple things. I don't know about you, but I'm busy, and I've always been busy at times. And people will say to me, that sounds too simple, but here's a little explanation. I can sit here now and I can type an email to you all, and all I do is press send. And Asta, you might receive it. Well, you will receive it if I've got the right email address, and you'll receive that in seconds. Now, what I did was simple, but what's going on in the background has a bigger complexity to it. So don't underestimate what is simple. In order for you to put that fear into the passenger seat of your life so you can be in the driver's seat and keep moving forwards with your hope of your vision, of your desired outcome, that if you stay connected in with the intelligence and the knowing of the heart will become your knowing, which is certain. You need to do this. This is a very powerful practice. You can do it with somebody else, but you need to lay out the guidelines. And the guidelines are, I'm going to tell you my fears. Do not respond. Do not try to answer. Do not try to fix. And you will look the person in the eyes. If you're not comfortable with that, you can write it. And the way you will write it is, these are my fears. They are not my truth. Then you either speak out or write out exactly what those fears are, because you're taking them from back here, because we perceive that the negative comes from behind, and you are going eyeball to eyeball with it, knowing that it's actually your friend telling you you're heading in the right direction. And this is how you quieten it and put it in the passenger seat. Then you will either say or write, these were my fears, they're no longer my truth. And you're going to write out those hopeful outcomes. It's your truth. They're not your fears, it is your truth. And you're going to state them. Now, doing such a simple practice like that means you've actually listened to it. Have you ever had children and they all come running to you? So-and-so said this and so-and-so did this, and this is what I used to do with my children. I'd listen to one, I'd listen to the other, and I'd go, thank you. They'd look at each other and then they'd run off. They just needed to be heard. They didn't need responses. If we can do that with our fears, then we can continue to live a life we love, which is that zest for life. We can move forwards in the driver's seat of our life, not ruled by our fears that are fed by the false stories and beliefs that we've taken on. The truth is beyond the belief system. And the judgment of something as negative just makes it like a tantrum throwing child that gets louder and louder and louder. When we let the fear rule in those false stories and beliefs, it freezes us in our tracks. It sucks us into hopelessness rather than hope. And remember, hope is an optimistic attitude coming from the mind, based on a desire, based on your aspiration. It speaks to you of a desired future. It's also still the mind. When we do meditative practices beyond mindfulness practices, because mindfulness still keeps you in the mind, they are positive in order to teach you to know what's going on with your mind, to discipline your mind, but they still keep you in the mind, and you do not get to cross that bridge into that mini brain, that voice of knowing, intuition, spirit, God, whatever you would like to call it, but that voice of knowing and power and potential that will guide you every step of the way. It will speak to you, but you need to do practices to tap into it for the dial to be turned up so that you can move beyond hope and transform and elevate that hope into what some call faith, which means faith is in the now moment. Faith is not based on proof. Faith comes from a knowing. Because adversity is always going to be there. The very adversity that's before you is designed to get you to grow. It is designed to take you away from those unconscious false stories and beliefs that feed and direct your subconscious. And your subconscious is designed to protect you. So it says, oh, so you feel useless. Let's bring experiences for you to perceive and respond that way. But the intelligence in the heart is the one that speaks to you of your knowing, power, and potential, and will guide you through that uncomfortable terrain. And excuse the language, but I have a saying that says shit will happen. You're either going to stink up the place or you're going to use it to fertilize your garden. So make fear your friend. Live the life you love, that your soul knows that you came for. Give hope a chance to elevate into knowing. And please remember, the power of change is always in your hands. Thank you.
Mediation Steadfast, based in Perth, Western Australia. We provide mediation services for employment issues to prevent expensive litigation in matters related to employee and industrial relations. We are dedicated to becoming a leader in mediation by encouraging solution-focused conversation for setting up a respectful and positive work culture. For more information on our facilitative mediation, visit our website mediationsteadfast.com.au. Mediation Steadfast, creating win-win solutions with alternate dispute resolution.